A story like this just gets us to wonder, why can't this be done more and more? Why is it that 95% of the housing shortage remains in the country in this low-income housing? To answer some of these questions, Vikram Jain, lead low-income housing practice monitor, Deloitte, and Rohit Poddar, MD Poddar Developers, joins us on this expert segment. Vikram, thanks very much for joining in. Vasudha's story clearly mentions that it is possible to do homes under 10 lakh rupees, but why just such few developers actually in the game today?
So actually, in the last 5 years, since we've been trying to promote low-income housing, we've seen the number of developers actually go up significantly. In a recent study where we completed a scan of about 22 cities, we found 138 projects selling housing under 10 lakhs, and there were about 30,000 of such houses launched. So in some sense, we are seeing that a lot of developers are picking this up, but you're right, I think the numbers aren't as large as they should be. So compared to the demand estimates of about 18 million, this is still very small.
Numbers are looking small, but Rohit Poddar, you've taken that leap into low-cost housing. Tell me, how do you find that possible?
Well, our background is basically a commodities manufacturer, and this difference is actually no different than that business. If you approach the low-cost housing model as a manufacturer, it'll be a lot more affordable for you than if you approach it as a traditional developer. We had to basically integrate forward and backwards to basically make it work. We aggregate our own land, we have our own master planners on board. The brand's pretty strong, pretty much in all of Mumbai, but also across India. And our marketing team is very strong in basically retail finance. So if you put all the puzzles of this pie together and a strong execution team on the construction side, the numbers actually do add up.
Vikram, why is it? I mean, if you look at the market opportunity, you look at the slowdown all around, and you see developers sitting on unsold stock, in everybody vying for the same pie, which is your 60 lakh to about 2 crores. From what Rohit's telling us, it's not a business which is rocket science. You can do it, and you can do it fairly easily if you just had put all the puzzles of the pieces of the puzzle together, as he just said. Why is it not happening more? There has to be a reason beyond that.
So we interviewed about 27 developers who are active in the low-income housing space. And one of the key challenge people keep coming up with is that it takes a long time to get approvals. And this business, like Rohit mentioned, is more of a manufacturing business. If it takes you a long time to get approvals, you're sitting on inventory, the prices is escalating, and then what happens is in the end, the product that comes out is not under 10 lakhs. So while the business might be profitable and, even selling at 15, 18 lakhs, he could make money, but just the fact for it to stay under 10 lakhs, he needs to get approvals quickly, he needs to construct quickly and sell quickly. So that approval timeline is really one of the big bottlenecks in this space. Of course, availability of affordable land, and at the same time, construction costs are the other two key pieces. But I would say approvals seems to be the biggest challenge developers are citing for not entering this business.
Okay, fair enough. Rohit, tell me, how did you crack that? Because if you talk to the housing ministry here, they keep mouthing these big words and big promises on affordable housing. They've not even been able to fast track this sector on approvals.
Well, see, basically, as things stand now, housing is a state subject. So you really have to build consensus amongst your state government in terms of being a legitimate player in this space, right? We've actually not had a lot of problems, to be honest with you, regarding our approvals. But we're also one of the most transparent companies, I think, in India on real estate. Our approvals are all online. I don't know anybody else who does that. The lag has really been for us the environmental clearance. It's taken, more than a year. So we're kind of hoping that the government puts the environmental part of the approval in with all the other approvals. I think if that gets done, you'll have a lot more people basically able to get faster approvals. But typically speaking, approvals for us take 3 or 4 months other than the environmental approval.
All right, so you're saying that regular approvals are not a problem, it's environmental clearances which are a problem. Vikram, do you think that sometimes approvals probably, if I hear Rohit clearly, could be used as just one of those other excuses that other developers use? Because enough study to show that there is a complete lack of transparency, even where developers have gone and got land at subsidized rate from the government. They've ended up using most of it as a trading stock, and also who's the buyer, no one really has any clarity on that as well.
Can't comment really on, how developers are planning to use, but often what happens is that most of the land that goes into affordable housing is typically on the outskirts of city, including like Rohit, most of the projects are on the outskirts of the city, and often the developers are acquiring it for the first time from farmers or, people who have been aggregating this for a while. So the land is, for the first time coming into construction, it was typically being used for agriculture earlier. So in these pieces of land, I'm not sure stocking up actually happens so much. I think this is the first time it's going for approvals, and it's a genuine concern. I mean, if you're going to take agriculture, as the city expands, you're going to take agricultural land. If you can get fast approval and if you can start constructing quickly, you can see so much more supply coming in quickly. So I don't see in this segment really a big play of holding it and kind of waiting, trading it as a using it as a trading stock, as you mentioned.
Okay, fair enough. Even some of the best meaning companies, Vikram, like Value Budget, BBHC that we are speaking about, are now, Jaikumar himself says that it's an extremely difficult task to look at affordable housing in this country. These are people who've come in with absolute transparency and a very clear mission of filling that gap, and they're struggling today.
You're absolutely right. I think a lot of players are struggling. At the same time, I think there are some changes also that we are seeing. When we had done the study earlier, we could see a lot more of large projects, so projects over 1,000, 2,000 units coming up. But these days what we are seeing is that the developers have kind of honed in on a smaller size project, probably trying to, go below the limit on which you need to get environmental approvals. So some of the developers who are now entering this business are small and mid-sized developers, and they seem to be quite happy. In fact, 89% of them said that we will continue to be in this business because of the sizable demand. I guess they are struggling, as you rightly mentioned, at the top end of the segment where everyone is competing out each other.
Fair enough. Rohit, just let me know, would a public-private participation model be a better one in affordable housing, or to just give that big jump to it? Would you consider that as a better model to work with rather than going alone by yourself?
Well, to be honest with you, we've been pretty successful with our model. We have all the pieces of the puzzle pretty much worked out over the last couple of years. We're up to about 20,000 houses now in Mumbai, and we're launching a few more projects in the next few months. So we'll be by far the dominant player in the city before we start moving out to other states. But I think by and large, a cross-subsidy scheme seems to be the biggest generator of low-income housing. I believe the government of Rajasthan's got something going in Jaipur, where they've got low-income group, mid-income group, and high-income group all clubbed together, and they actually give permissions based on they give extra FSI to the high-income group segment based on how much stock they give in the low-income segment. So I think it's like a cross-subsidy scheme. I think will work best for a metro, where the prices of land are pretty expensive and the selling prices are expensive as well. I actually saw a report today in the morning in the newspaper about a new policy in Maharashtra where they have a 20% threshold for affordable housing even in the city. Now, one has to basically see how that pans out, but that's a good idea to have a cross-subsidy scheme.
Fair enough. But Vikram, overall, you believe that the country is moving in the right direction? Developers are taking to the cause of low-cost housing or finding it a viable business, because really it won't work if it's a cause. It has to be a viable business for them.
Absolutely. I think developers are finding this as a viable business. A lot of them are in this space because they see the opportunity and they see the profits there. They see the demand there. At the same time, I would like to add the number of steps are being taken by the government to promote this space. So awareness about this space and the fact that private sector can play a role in reducing the housing gap has become very common in government circles, and we are seeing a lot of states coming up with conducive policy, like Rajasthan has come up with conducive policy, Odisha is coming up with conducive policy, a lot of other states are starting to think about this. So which is all great. I think it is going in the right direction, and hopefully we should see a lot more numbers than 30,000 houses coming up when we do the report next time.
Fair enough. All the best with that. We'd also like to see that. In fact, on this show, we've been pushing for this affordable home agenda because clearly that there lies the biggest gap. Rohit and Vikram, pleasure having you gentlemen with me here on this property show today. If you've got a question, buy, sell, invest anywhere in the country, do write into us or send us an email. You can also call us on the numbers on your screen. We're going to be back.